People often think stories like mine begin with anger. But mine begins with love, a very quiet kind of love that grows in small homes, warm kitchens, and ordinary days. Before that wedding day, before the slap, before the silence that changed everything, there was just me and my son. My name is Margaret. And for most of my life, it was only the two of us. Daniel was born on a rainy evening in March, a tiny baby with soft black hair and eyes that always seemed older than his age. His father left when Daniel was still learning his first words. One morning he left for work and never came home. People whispered, neighbors talked, but I stayed quiet. I had a baby in my arms, and that was enough to keep me moving. I raised Daniel on a simple salary from the small bakery where I worked. We lived in a one-bedroom apartment above the store. Our home smelled like fresh bread every morning and warm sugar every evening. It wasn't much, but it was safe. And it was ours. Every night when I tucked him into bed, he would hold my hand and say, "Mom, when I grow up, I'll buy you a big house. A house with many windows so you can always see the sun." I would laugh softly and brush his hair. "Oh, sweetheart, I don't need a big house. I just need you happy." He would smile, that sweet, small smile he always had, and say, "I'll make you proud, Mom. I promise." And he did. In every way. Daniel was gentle, thoughtful, always polite. He held doors for strangers. He helped elderly neighbors carry groceries. He saved his lunch money to buy me flowers on Mother's Day. We didn't have much, but we had each other, and that made us rich in the quiet ways life rarely celebrates. When he got older, he worked after school, small jobs, part-time shifts, anything he could find, just to help me. And every paycheck he received, even the small ones, he would hand to me proudly. "Use it for bills," he'd say. I always gave it back. "I want you to save," I'd tell him. "You have a future to build." He would try not to smile, but I'd always catch the way his lips curled at the edges. Daniel was the kind of son every mother prays for. As he grew, his world grew too. He studied hard, always with that same gentle determination. When he got into a good college, I cried quietly in the kitchen. He hugged me tight and whispered, "It's because of you, Mom. You did everything." But I shook my head. "No, Daniel. You did this. You always did." College was far from home, so he lived in the dorms during the week. Every Friday night, he would take the 2-hour bus ride back just to eat dinner with me. He would walk into the apartment, drop his bag on the floor, and give me the biggest hug. "Home," he'd say softly. I missed this. I would make him his favorite meal, chicken soup with soft noodles and warm bread from the bakery. Nothing fancy. Just comfort. Just love. He would sit at the table, talking about his classes, his professors, the new people he met. And I would listen, smiling, glowing inside, thinking, my boy is growing. My boy is becoming someone strong. Then, one Friday evening, he came home looking different. There was a softness around his eyes, a kind of gentle excitement he couldn't hide. "Mom," he said, sitting down slowly. "There's someone I want to tell you about." Someone. A girl. Her name was Lily. He said her name the way people say the name of a place that feels like safety. A name that warms them. He told me she was kind, funny, and smart. He told me she laughed at everything he said, even the small jokes. He told me she liked to study in the library, and she wore a small silver necklace she never took off. He told me she made him feel understood. I listened, nodding and smiling, but inside I felt something tighten gently in my chest, not jealousy, not fear, but the quiet ache all mothers feel when someone new steps into their child's heart. After dinner, he looked at me carefully. Mom, do you want to meet her someday? Sometime, I said softly. Whenever you feel it's right. He smiled, that same sweet smile from when he was a little boy. I really hope you like her. I will, I whispered. Because you do. Months passed. Daniel grew closer to her. He talked about her more often. Sometimes he came home later than usual because he stopped to see her after classes. I didn't mind. I was happy for him. Truly happy. But there was something he didn't know. Something I never told him. His father, the man who abandoned us, had come to see me once, many years after he left. He said ugly things. He blamed me for leaving. He said I wasn't good enough, that Daniel would be ashamed of me when he grew older. I never believed him, but his words left small shadows inside me. Shadows I hid well, but they were still there. Because of those shadows. I worried that one day Daniel would look at me through someone else's eyes and see something less. Something unworthy. I shouldn't have worried. But mothers do. We always do. One day, Daniel came home looking nervous and unusually quiet. Mom, he said, standing near the doorway, I asked Lily to marry me. Time seemed to pause for me. I felt warmth fill my chest, followed by a sharp ache. My boy, my sweet baby, had grown into a man right in front of me. I walked to him, held his face in my hands, and whispered. She's very lucky, Daniel. He hugged me tightly, almost like the little boy he used to be. Mom. I want you at the wedding. I want you near me. Always. His voice trembled a little. I didn't understand why at the time, but I would, much later. The days leading up to the wedding were filled with quiet joy. I bought a simple light blue dress. I ironed it carefully. I laid it on my bed each night, imagining what the day would look like. I made a small gift for Lily, a delicate embroidered handkerchief with welcoming her to the family. I was not a rich woman. I did not have grand things to give. But everything I prepared. I prepared with my whole heart. Then, 2 days before the wedding, Daniel came home with a strange worry in his eyes. Mom, about the wedding, there's something I need to explain. He sat down at the table, fidgeting with his fingers, something he only did when he was very troubled. Lily, she doesn't know much about my family. I never told her everything. And her parents, they have certain expectations. I didn't understand. He took a deep breath. Mom, they think I come from a different background. A wealthier one. The words landed with a soft, painful thud inside my chest. I whispered. Daniel, you hid me? He looked helpless. No, Mom. I didn't hide you. I just never told them the full story. And now I don't know how to explain it. His voice cracked. I was afraid that if they knew I grew up poor, they wouldn't accept me. Or us. I didn't speak for a moment. I looked at my hands worn from years of kneading dough, cleaning floors, holding him through fevers, wiping his tears. These were the hands of his mother. But maybe, in his new world, they weren't enough. I swallowed the sadness and placed my hand on his. It's all right, I whispered. If you want me there quietly, in a corner. I can do that. No, he said quickly. I want you close. I want you with me. But I don't know how. I smiled softly. Then let me come quietly. No introductions. No pressure. Just let me see you happy. He nodded slowly, a tear escaping down his cheek. Thank you, Mom. And so, that was the plan. I would go. I would sit quietly. I would watch my son begin a new life. I didn't expect a warm welcome. I didn't expect attention. I didn't expect anything. All I wanted was to witness the moment he said, "I do." I didn't know then that the moment I walked into that wedding hall, everything would fall apart. And that slap, that single slap, would be the first crack in my son's breaking heart. The morning of the wedding felt strangely quiet. Too quiet. I woke up before sunrise, sat at the edge of my bed, and held the light blue dress in my lap. For a few minutes, I simply stared at it, the soft fabric, the careful stitching, the gentle color. It was nothing fancy, nothing expensive, but it made me feel presentable. Like I was stepping into a new chapter of my life, even if I was only meant to be a silent observer. I got ready slowly. A touch of powder on my face. A bit of lip color. Hair pinned into a neat bun. Simple earrings. A small necklace Daniel gave me on my birthday 5 years earlier. As I looked into the mirror, I whispered to myself, "You look fine, Margaret. You look like a mother who loves her son." And that was enough. I left the apartment with plenty of time. The sky was soft and gray, clouds hanging low as if the weather itself felt nervous. I carried a small purse with the embroidered handkerchief and the welcome letter for Lily. The bus ride was long and quiet. I sat near the window, watching the world pass by, cars, sidewalks, children running, old men reading newspapers in front of small cafes. I wondered if any of them were going somewhere important. Somewhere emotional. Somewhere they had waited their whole life for. Maybe they were. Maybe everyone carries a quiet story on ordinary mornings. I clutched the purse tightly and whispered, "It's his big day. I hope it's beautiful." When I arrived at the hotel where the ceremony was being held, I felt a wave of nervousness. The place was grand, tall glass windows, polished marble floors, golden lights hanging from the ceiling like falling stars. It was nothing like the little bakery, nothing like the simple neighborhood I came from. As I stepped inside, people brushed past me, all dressed beautifully, men in suits. Women in elegant dresses. Perfume filled the air, soft music played somewhere in the background, and everything felt expensive. I felt suddenly small. Not ashamed, not embarrassed, just small. Like I had entered a world that wasn't mine. But I reminded myself, I'm here for Daniel. No one else. I asked a staff member where the ceremony hall was. She pointed me toward a wide hallway decorated with flowers and white candles. I walked slowly, taking careful steps, my heart beating faster with each one. When I reached the hall, it was already filling with guests. People were taking pictures, greeting one another, laughing, complimenting dresses and suits. The room was bright with white and soft gold decorations. A large floral arch stood at the front, where Daniel and Lily would soon take their vows. My eyes filled with warmth. My son. He's about to start a new life. I found a quiet seat near the back, far from the families, far from the important guests. Just where Daniel had suggested I stay until he could come talk to me. "Just wait for me, Mom," he had said. "I'll bring her to meet you. I want her to meet you the right way." So I waited. Patiently. Quietly. With a soft smile. People around me whispered. Some glanced at me, quickly, then returned to their conversations. Maybe I didn't look like I belonged. Maybe my dress was too simple. Maybe my hands shaped by years of work, didn't fit into a world of polished rings and manicured fingers. But none of that mattered. Not to me. Not that day. I placed my purse on my lap and folded my hands tightly. My heart beat slowly at first, then a little faster, then faster still. Where was Daniel? I looked around, craning my neck, scanning the room. Finally, I saw him. He was near the stage, adjusting his suit, speaking to someone from the event team. He looked handsome, tall, well-dressed, nervous in a sweet way. His eyes moved across the hall, searching for something, or someone, then he saw me. His shoulders softened. His face relaxed. He smiled, a small, relieved smile. I raised my hand in a tiny wave. He nodded and mouthed, "I'll come." My heart warmed. A few minutes later, as the guests were settling down, I saw her. Lily. She stood near the front, surrounded by her bridesmaids. Her dress sparkled softly under the lights. Her hair fell in beautiful waves. Her face glowed with excitement and happiness. She truly was a lovely girl. I felt tears sting my eyes. My son chose well, I thought. I watched her for a moment, imagining what she might say when she learned who I was. I imagined her reaching for my hand, smiling, calling me Mom, someday. But those were only hopes. Simple dreams. I didn't know then that the moment she noticed me, none of those dreams would survive. A few minutes before the ceremony was set to begin, a sudden commotion started near the entrance. Voices rose. People turned their heads. I stood up a little from my seat, trying to see what was happening. A woman in a gold dress, Lily's aunt, maybe, walked toward me with a tight expression. She stopped right in front of me. "Excuse me," she said sharply. "Are you here for the wedding?" Her tone wasn't rude, but it wasn't kind either. It was a tone that said she had already judged me before hearing my answer. "Yes," I whispered. "I'm here for Daniel." Her eyebrows lifted slightly. "You mean the groom?" "Yes," I said softly. She looked me over from head to toe, and her expression shifted, confused, unsure, maybe even suspicious. "Are you a friend? A distant relative? Which side are you from?" I hesitated. I didn't know what to say. Daniel hadn't told anyone about me. Not yet. "I'm close to him," I said. Her eyes narrowed. "Close how?" I opened my mouth to explain, but before I could, she turned to someone behind her and whispered loudly enough for me to hear. "She must be from the staff. Maybe she's lost." A small stir of embarrassment rippled through me. But I stayed quiet. I wasn't there to defend myself. I was there for my son. Suddenly, another guest approached, a man in a dark suit with a clipboard. He seemed to be part of the event coordination team. "Ma'am," he said politely, "may I see your invitation?" I froze. Invitation. Daniel had told me to come, quietly. He had said he would find me. He had not given me a formal card. I don't have one," I whispered. The man frowned gently. "I'm sorry, but this section is reserved for family and close guests. If you're part of the staff, the service corridor is to the left." People nearby turned their heads. I felt my breathing slow. My hands trembled slightly. A warm heaviness spread in my chest. "I'm not staff," I said softly. The man looked confused. The woman in the gold dress folded her arms, watching me closely. "Then who are you?" she demanded. Before I could answer, I heard footsteps, fast, urgent. "Daniel." He rushed toward us, eyes wide, face pale. "Mom." The word slipped from him like a gasp. A raw, unguarded word. Everyone around us turned. The woman in the gold dress stiffened. The coordinator blinked. A few guests whispered softly. "Mom? His mother? Where? Who?" Daniel reached me quickly, standing between me and the others, placing a protective hand slightly in front of me. "I told you I'd come find you," he whispered, breathless. "Why are you standing?" "I'm all right," I said softly. "I was just waiting." His face filled with guilt. "Mom. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." It was then, in that moment, that Lily saw us. She walked toward us slowly, confusion written across her face. Her bridesmaids followed behind her, whispering softly. When she reached Daniel, she touched his arm. "Who is she?" she asked, her voice confused but steady. Daniel swallowed. "Lily," he said carefully, "this is." The woman in the gold dress interrupted sharply. "She claims she knows the groom. She has no invitation. She." Daniel turned to her, frustrated. "Aunt Marissa, please. This is my—" But Lily stepped closer to me, staring hard, her eyes narrowing slightly. "Why are you here?" she asked. "Are you trying to stop the wedding? Are you trying to cause a scene?" Her voice wasn't angry. Just tense. Confused. Afraid. I'm just here for Daniel," I whispered. "Why?" she asked again. I opened my mouth to speak, to tell her the truth. But before a single word could leave my lips, she raised her hand and slapped me. The sound. The shock. The way the room fell still. Everything froze. Her hand trembled in the air. Her bridesmaids gasped. Daniel looked like the ground had disappeared beneath him. And me? I simply stood there. Not angry. Not hurt. Just sad. Very, very sad. Because in that single moment, I saw something break inside my son's eyes. Something he would never recover from. The moment Lily's hand touched my face, the world seemed to stop. The room filled with a sharp silence, the kind that freezes people in place and steals the air from their lungs. I did not move. I did not raise my hand to my cheek. I simply stood there, staring at the young woman my son loved so deeply. Her hand slowly fell back to her side. Her eyes widened as if she herself did not fully understand what she had done. People around us stopped whispering. They just stared. My cheek stung softly, but the physical pain was nothing. The real hurt was in Daniel's eyes. He looked at me like a child again, helpless, horrified, broken. "Mom," he whispered, his voice shaking. I saw his hands trembling. His breath came in short, sharp gasps. His lips parted as if he wanted to shout, to scream, to defend me, but no words came. For a moment, even Lily seemed frozen. Then she stepped back, fear and confusion pouring across her face. I didn't know," she stuttered. "Daniel, who is she? Why didn't you tell me?" Her voice cracked. Her eyes darted between Daniel and me, then toward her family, who were staring at her in disbelief. The woman in the gold dress, her aunt, pressed her hand against her chest. "You slapped his mother," she whispered harshly. Mother?" Lily repeated, her voice trembling. She turned toward me, horror growing in her eyes. No, I didn't. I didn't know." Daniel finally found his voice. His voice wasn't loud. It wasn't angry. It was just tired. "Why did you do that, Lily?" She shook her head, stepping toward him, her bridal gown rustling softly. "I thought she was a stranger. She was dressed simply, she didn't have an invitation, she didn't say anything." Daniel's voice rose slightly, not in anger, but in heartbreak. "And that gives you the right to hit her?" Lily froze. It was the softest question, but also the heaviest. The guests murmured. The music from another hall drifted faintly through the walls, but inside our room, everything felt suspended in time. I finally lifted my hand, not to touch my face, but to touch Daniel's arm. "It's all right, sweetheart," I whispered gently. "I'm fine." He turned to me sharply. "You're not fine. She hit you." His voice cracked. On our wedding day. People around us looked away, as if the scene was too painful to witness. Lily stepped forward again, tears pooling in her eyes. "I'm so sorry," she whispered. I didn't know. Daniel never said anything. He never told us about you." She looked directly at me now. "I thought you were someone trying to interrupt. I didn't know you were his M." She couldn't finish the word. "Mother." The word felt heavy in the air. Daniel turned his face away, ashamed. I took a slow breath, trying to calm the tremor inside me. "It's all right," I said softly. Maybe Daniel was afraid. Maybe he didn't want his past to change your future. Lily looked at him sharply. "Is that true?" she whispered. Daniel's shoulders fell. "I was going to tell you," he said. I didn't want your family to judge her. She worked so hard to raise me. She gave me everything. I didn't want anyone treating her like she was less." He looked directly at Lily now, his eyes filled with pain. "And I didn't want you to treat her that way either." Her lips trembled. "I would never." "You just did," he said softly. The words were quiet. But they shattered the room. Her parents rushed forward, pulling her aside. Her mother whispered urgently. "You slapped your future mother-in-law? Before the ceremony?" Lily covered her face with both hands. Her shoulders shook as she began to cry. I thought, I didn't know." Her father stepped between Daniel and her. "Daniel," he said, keeping his voice low, "this is a misunderstanding. Everyone is emotional. Let's calm down." Daniel looked at him, eyes wounded. "A misunderstanding?" He gestured toward me. "She hit my mom. On my wedding day." His voice cracked again. I saw how deeply he was trying to hold himself together. "She didn't even stop to ask who she was," he added. "She didn't even stop to think." Lily sobbed. "I'm sorry, Daniel. I'm so sorry." But he turned away. At that moment, the event coordinator walked in, unaware of the scene. "Everyone, please take your seats. The ceremony." He paused when he saw Daniel's face. My cheek. The crying bride. The tense families. The room was filled with a quiet kind of chaos, the kind that happens when something breaks that can't be easily fixed. I stepped closer to Daniel. "Sweetheart," I whispered gently, "maybe we should sit down. We can talk later. This is your day." He shook his head. "This is not my day anymore." Those words. They felt cold. Final. Lily rushed to him again, grabbing his hands. "Daniel, please. Please. I didn't mean to hurt her. I'm sorry. I'll apologize. I'll fix everything. I'll do anything." He stared at her hands clutching his. Hands he once adored, once held with hope. Slowly, he pulled his hands away. Not roughly. Not angrily. Just, sadly. "Lily," he whispered, "I loved you. I really did. I thought we understood each other. I thought you loved me for who I am, not for what you assumed I came from." "I do," she cried, but he shook his head again. "If you did, my mother wouldn't be a problem to you." He looked at me then, really looked at me, and I saw something break in him. "Mom," he whispered, "I'm sorry. I should have told her. I should have never hidden you. I was scared. I was weak." I touched his arm softly. "You're not weak," I whispered. "You were just trying to protect someone you love. That's not weakness, Daniel." He closed his eyes. But the damage was done. The silence around us grew heavier. Guests shifted uncomfortably. Bridesmaids stood frozen. Lily sobbed harder. She tried to reach for him again. "Daniel, please don't do this. Please don't walk away. I love you. I made a mistake. Don't throw everything away because of me." He looked at her for a long, painful moment. Then he whispered, "I'm not throwing everything away because of you. I'm walking away because I finally see what you think of my mother. And I cannot let that be my future." The words were soft. So soft. But they shattered her completely. She fell to her knees, crying uncontrollably. Her mother rushed to her. Her father stared at Daniel, speechless. Daniel turned toward me. His hands were shaking. His eyes were glassy with tears. "Mom," he whispered, "let's go." I hesitated. "Daniel, maybe you should stay. Please think. Emotions are high. This is a big decision." He shook his head firmly, but gently. "No, Mom. If this is how they treat you before the marriage, it will only get worse after." He took my hand. And for the first time since he became a man, I felt him hold on to me the same way he did as a frightened child. I swallowed hard. "All right," I whispered softly. "I'm with you." We turned toward the exit together. The room watched in stunned silence. Someone sobbed softly. Someone whispered, "He's leaving." Someone else said, "Is the wedding cancelled?" But Daniel didn't look back. Not even once. When we reached the hallway outside, he stopped walking. His shoulders trembled. His breath shook. "Daniel," I began gently. But he cut me off, not harshly, just brokenly. "I tried so hard, Mom," he whispered. "I worked so hard to escape the life people judged. And I thought she loved me for me." He pressed the heel of his hand to his forehead, overwhelmed. "I thought I finally had a family. A future. A chance for something normal. I was wrong." I carefully wrapped my arms around him. He leaned into me, shaking, breathing hard, fighting back tears. "You're not wrong," I whispered into his shoulder. "You're hurt. That's all. You'll heal. You're stronger than this pain." But he shook his head. "No, Mom. Something inside me, it broke. I felt it." I held him tighter. I didn't know then that he was right. Something had broken. Something deep. Something heavy. Something that would lead us toward a darkness I never expected. We left the hotel quietly. We walked down the street without speaking. The sky was still gray, still heavy with unfallen rain. I kept looking at him. His face was pale. His eyes were empty, unfocused. He looked like someone who had lost more than a wedding. He had lost a dream. A hope. A future he had imagined so tenderly. He was not angry. He was not bitter. He was just hollow. I touched his arm gently. "Daniel, sweetheart, talk to me." He whispered. "I don't know who I am anymore." Those words. They scared me. More than anything else that day. The days after my son's death moved slowly, almost gently, as if time itself was trying not to hurt me more than I was already hurting. I would wake up without realizing I had fallen asleep. My eyes would open, but my heart stayed somewhere else, somewhere far, somewhere dark, somewhere quiet. Some mornings, I would lie still and wait. Wait for the pain to rise. Wait for the memories to return. Wait for that familiar tightness in my throat. And it always came. Softly at first. Then all at once. Losing a child is not one wound. It is 1,000 small ones, reopening again and again in unexpected places. But this story, my story, did not end on the day he died. And neither did hers. Not the woman who slapped me. Not the woman who loved my son. Not the woman who lost him too. Not the woman who found out the truth too late. Not the woman who now carried more guilt than anyone should ever carry in one lifetime. Her story was tied to mine. And even though she didn't know how to face me, I think she needed me. And maybe, in a strange, painful way, I needed her too. It was 3 days after the funeral. I heard a soft knock on my door. Not hurried. Not angry. Not nervous. Just quiet. The kind of knock someone uses when they aren't sure if they deserve to be there. I opened the door, and there she was. Sophia. My son's bride. Or the woman who almost became one. She wasn't wearing makeup. Her hair was tied back in a messy bun. Her eyes were swollen, tired, red. Her lips trembled as if she had been whispering apologies to herself for hours before she gathered the courage to come here. "Hi," she said in a broken whisper. I didn't trust my voice, so I didn't speak. I simply stepped aside and opened the door wider. She entered slowly, her hands clasped together, her steps unsteady. As if she were walking into a memory she wasn't ready to face, she sat on the edge of my small wooden sofa. Her body leaned forward, as if something heavy was tied to her spine. She sat on the edge of my small wooden sofa. Her body leaned forward, as if something heavy was tied to her spine. For a long time, neither of us spoke. The silence between us wasn't uncomfortable. It was full, heavy, meaningful. Finally, she exhaled. "I didn't know," she whispered. Her voice cracked. "I didn't know who you were. I didn't know you were his mother. I didn't know he invited you. I didn't know you were standing behind me. I didn't know." Her hands began to shake. Her fingers twisted into each other as if trying to tie her guilt into knots. "If I had known," she continued, "would never, never, have touched you. I thought you were trying to stop the ceremony. I thought you were there to embarrass him. I thought." She stopped. Her breath hitched in her throat. As if the truth choked her from the inside. Then she whispered the words she had been carrying like a weight. "I killed him." My heart cracked at the sound of it. "No," I whispered softly. Her eyes filled again. "No, no, you don't understand. He walked out because of me. He left because I hurt you. Because I didn't respect you. Because he saw what I did. Because..." I reached out and placed my hand gently on hers. Her whole body froze. "No," I repeated. My voice was soft, but it carried everything inside me. All of us failed him in different ways. But none of us killed him. She burst into tears, the kind of tears that shake the entire body, the kind that sound like someone is breaking from the inside. And I held her. Her head lowered to my lap, and she cried like a child seeking forgiveness and comfort. Her tears drenched my clothes. My tears fell into her hair. Two women who loved the same man. Two women who lost the same man. Two women bound by the same emptiness. And in that moment, I didn't see her as the girl who slapped me. I saw her as the girl my son loved. The girl who tried her best. The girl who made mistakes. The girl who would have become my daughter. If life had been kinder. She wasn't my enemy. She was another mother's daughter. She was another broken heart trying to survive. It was a week later when the police returned a small envelope to me. It was found in his car. My son's handwriting on the front. For Mom. My fingers trembled as I opened it. Sophia stood beside me, holding her breath. Inside, there was a folded paper, soft, worn, like he held it many times before writing the final words. His handwriting was gentle. Neat. Familiar. I read it aloud. Mom. If you're reading this, it means I made a mistake. A big one. And I am sorry. Not for leaving the world, because I don't feel like I'm leaving. I feel like I'm going somewhere quieter. Somewhere easier. Somewhere where no one expects me to be the perfect son or the perfect man. You raised me with more love than any mother could give. But I didn't grow up to be strong like you. I grew up afraid. Afraid of disappointing people. Afraid of causing pain. Afraid of choosing wrong. And on the wedding day, I watched the two women I love hurt each other. And I couldn't handle it. I felt like I failed both of you. I don't blame anyone. Not her. Not you. Not myself. I just want the two of you to live. Not in guilt. Not in anger. Not in regret. Live gently. Live kindly. Live for me. Let my life be a reminder that love is delicate. It needs gentleness. It needs patience. It needs forgiveness, Mom. Please don't carry this pain forever. Let it rest with me. Let your heart breathe again. The letter ended there. But our tears didn't. Sophia covered her mouth to stop her sobs. I pressed the letter to my heart, as if holding it could bring him back. We cried. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Just deeply. Softly. Honestly. Like two broken pieces trying to find a place to fit. She came to my house every day after that. Sometimes for a few minutes. Sometimes for hours. We sat together. Ate together. Cried together. Talked about Daniel. She asked questions about his childhood. I told her stories she had never heard. She smiled through tears. I held her hand when she trembled. Slowly, gently, the wounds began to close. Not erase. Never erase. But close. She began cooking for me sometimes. I began giving her the things he left behind. His watch. His books. His favorite sweater. We weren't replacing him. We were holding what he left for us, each other. And I realized something. Forgiveness is not a gift you give someone. It is a gift you give yourself. One quiet evening, as the sun was setting behind my window, she looked up at me and whispered. Do you hate me? I shook my head. No, I said softly. I never hated you. I was only hurt. Hurt grows with silence. But you came. You apologized. You shared your pain. And now I see your heart. And I know my son loved a good woman. She held her face in her hands and cried silently. Then she whispered. Can I still call you Mom? My breath caught. A warmth spread through my chest, painful and comforting at the same time. Yes, I whispered. My voice trembled. Yes, you can. Her hands reached for mine. And in that moment, something inside both of us healed. Not completely. But enough to breathe again. Life didn't go back to normal. It built a new shape around the broken places. A softer shape. A gentler one. She visited every week. We cooked simple meals together. We kept his room clean. We watered the small plant he loved. Sometimes we laughed. Sometimes we cried. Sometimes we sat in silence. But we healed, slowly, side by side. She found a job again. She joined a support group. She even started therapy. And me? I opened my windows again, that I talked to neighbors again. I found small joys again, sunlight, tea, old songs. We didn't forget him. We never will. But we learned to live with the memory instead of dying inside it. One evening, she placed a sealed envelope on my table. For him, she whispered. I opened it later, alone. Inside was a single page. Daniel. I will love your mother the way you loved her. And I will live the life you wanted for me. I will not let your loss become my punishment. I will let it become my strength. And I will carry your love with me quietly, softly, always. I pressed the letter against my heart and closed my eyes. For the first time in months, I felt peace. A thin peace. A delicate peace. But peace. Something that felt like a small hand reaching through the darkness, guiding me forward. That it has been months now. Some days still feel heavy. Some mornings still begin with tears. But life has a gentle way of reminding us that even the deepest wounds can soften with time. I sit by my window most evenings. The same window where I once waited for my son to return home safe after school, after work, after long nights studying. Now I sit there with a cup of warm tea, watching the sky change colors. Sometimes it's golden. Sometimes it's pale. Sometimes it's gray. But it always moves. It always shifts. It always continues. And maybe that is how healing works too. The wedding hall feels like a distant memory now. Not sharp. Not painful. Just quiet. Sometimes, when I close my eyes, I can still hear the faint echo of that day. The murmurs, the music, the confusion, the slap. But I no longer feel shame when I remember it. No anger. No bitterness. Just a small pinch in my heart, a reminder that life can change in one breath, one moment, one mistake. I have stopped asking why. I have stopped searching for answers that will never appear. Instead, I ask myself a softer question. What can I learn from this? And the answer, strange as it is, has brought me peace. Sophia still comes to see me. Not out of guilt. Not out of obligation. But out of something much gentler. Connection. Understanding. Shared loss. Shared love. She brings groceries sometimes. Sometimes flowers. Sometimes just herself. We sit together in my small living room, two women bound not by blood, but by grief, and something kinder than grief. Something like forgiveness, but deeper. Something like family, but quieter. She calls me Mom now. Not every time. Not loudly. But softly, in those moments when her guard drops and her heart speaks before her mind can stop it. And every time she says it, I feel my son somewhere near. As if he is nodding. As if he is smiling. When a child leaves the world before the mother, the world feels out of order. The sun rises, but it feels wrong. The wind moves, but it feels empty. Life continues, but it feels unfamiliar. But slowly, gently, I realized something. My son didn't leave me a tragedy. He left me a lesson. He left me the reminder that people make mistakes. That even those we love deeply can hurt us unintentionally. That forgiveness is not a weakness, it is strength. It is the quiet kind of strength that doesn't shout, doesn't demand, doesn't break. Forgiveness is choosing peace when pain is easier. It is choosing to understand instead of blame. Choosing to stay soft instead of hardening. It is choosing to move forward even with a trembling he. As if he is saying, thank you. There are nights when I still talk to him. I sit in the dim light of my room and whisper. I hope you're somewhere beautiful. I hope you found the quiet you searched for. I hope you feel my love even now. I believe he does. Love doesn't disappear when a life ends. It changes shape. It becomes memory. It becomes warmth. It becomes the echo inside the heart that guides us through dark places. And when the world feels too heavy, I remind myself of his words. Mom. Let your heart breathe again. So I try. Every day. With small steps. With gentle moments. With forgiveness for myself and for others. Healing is not forgetting. Healing is carrying the memory with grace. Healing is letting love become stronger than loss. One evening, I placed his letter in a small wooden box, the box where I keep my most precious things. A photograph of him laughing. A small paper flower he made for me in school. His favorite keychain. The letter he left behind. I closed the box softly, as if closing a door that no longer hurt to touch. Then I looked up at the sky. The sun was setting slowly, painting everything gold. And in that warm light, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Peace. Not perfect. Not complete. But real. Soft. Present. The kind of peace that says, you lived through something heavy. But you are still here. And you are still capable of love. And that, I think, is the quiet beauty of surviving. Life takes. Life gives. Life breaks. Life heals. And through it all, love remains.